Republicans reacted to the indictment of former President Donald Trump with rage and disbelief that a prosecutor could ever go after a political candidate, especially one that's been but has, authorized hush money payments to cover up an affair. In fact, Sean Hannity, I'm going to show you his response to this specifically, and when I get into it, you'll know why. First, here he is responding to it on Thursday.
After years of partisan witch hunts, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, he has literally thrown the rule of law to the wind in exchange for a cheap act of petty political vengeance, and he has brought the criminalization of political differences now to an entire new level. This is repulsive. It's a disgusting political hit job, the likes of which we have never seen in this country. It's never happened before. Now, Pandora's box has now officially been opened. We have a new era of political revenge, and a weaponized justice system is now upon all of us.
Oh, yeah. Weaponized justice system. It's upon all of us. Who? It's not on me. It's not on the average working class person. I mean, sounds like it's more like on you guys. People who, may have broken campaign finance laws to keep your affairs secret. Maybe have less affairs. How about that? I mean, that could really help you if you just don't do that. But okay, anyway, I'm being way too logical here. All right. But I want to get to what he says with the statement of, we have never... This is the political hijab, the likes of which we have never seen in this country. It has never happened before, except it has. What do I mean? Well, those of you, we're going to have to reach back into time. So we're going to do a little time travel, you see. Back to the year 2011. I know. It's a long time ago. Where you had a certain Democrat who had aspirations to become president. John Edwards. That's right. He also ran unsuccessfully on the Kerry ticket. So John Edwards was revealed back then to be a complete and utter creep. A terrible person, cheated on his wife, who was dying of breast cancer, got his mistress pregnant, and then paid her to shut up. Quite the scandal. Indeed, so much so that he was not invited to speak at the DNC. The Democrats were like, no, we're not getting anywhere near that one. So, again, back in 2011. So now, he was indicted and charged with violating campaign finance laws by accepting more than $900,000 in an effort to conceal from the public facts that he believed would harm his candidacy, and then hid the contributions from the FEC. The money funded payoffs to someone named Riel Hunter, his mistress, to cover up the affair during his presidential campaign in 2007 and 2008. According to the indictment, Edwards conspired with staff to falsify the purpose of the payments, claiming the funds were used for chairs and an antique table. So the case against this guy, Edwards, is based on pretty much the same novel theory that Bragg is currently using with Trump. So, well, how did that end out? Well, look, just like now, legal experts did mention that, hey, it's kind of a shaky case. Charges were not exactly based on any federal statute, but an advisory FEC opinion that argued that gifts made to political candidates should be considered campaign contributions. CNN and the Washington Post reported at the time. After 9 days of deliberations, a jury acquitted Edwards of one charge of accepting an illegal donation, ABC News reported, but was deadlocked on the other 5 counts, resulting in a mistrial. The Department of Justice chose not to retry Edwards, according to a Politico report from 2012. So that's how it shook out. No jail time for Edwards, but again, you had 6 counts. Donald Trump is facing 34 counts, of which we do not know because currently all the indictments are sealed. So again, we don't know what the details are here. But with 34 counts, that is pretty significant. Does that mean there will be a conviction on one or any of them or all of them? I don't know. But that said, getting to the point here, I bring that up because what was Sean Hannity and Fox News saying at the time? Did they have a consistent opinion? Surely he would regard this, which is a similar situation, as a cheap act of political vengeance, right? Now, by the way, more details here. Just kind of cement the fact that, okay, you could definitely consider this an act of political vengeance. Republican U.S. Attorney George Holding was the one who indicted Edwards. And then he's a holdover from the Bush administration in the Obama administration. He then, after doing the indictment, ducked out to run as a Republican in Congress in North Carolina. I don't know. I can't tell if that might be political or not. Now, as for Hannity, what did he say? Well, this was on his June 3rd, 2011 program. Quote, "The facts are that he broke campaign finance laws and that he lied to cover it up." Do I agree with that? Yes, I do. Yeah, that's the same thing Donald Trump's been accused of doing as well. During that same show, he interviewed a former prosecutor named Kelly Sandin, who had this to say about Edwards' conduct. Quote, "Yes, he's going to go to jail and he should be indicted. He knew what he was doing was wrong. He was diverting campaign money. He was complicit in making sure that he hid his affair. He lied to us about it, and he is going to end up serving jail time for this. Whether or not he knew it was wrong and against the law, which I believe he did know it was against the law, he is going to jail because you are charged with knowing the laws that apply to you. That applied, and he broke the law." Hey, we're not talking about Trump. We're talking about John Edwards here on Fox News. Now, Hannity continued making the argument even after the case had ended on May 31st, 2012. That's after a jury in the case, Edwards' case had deadlocked on the majority of the charges, and a judge actually declared a mistrial. Here's what he said. Quote, "If we look at this very closely, a campaign contribution, anything of value, for the purpose of influencing the outcome of an election. So weren't they trying to basically circumvent the law?" Yeah. Oh, by the way, so was Trump. So there's more. Former Fox News host Megyn Kelly tweeted that Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who was leading the prosecution of Trump, should be ashamed of himself. This is a travesty for our country, but it is a political windfall for Donald Trump. If he wins in 24, he will have Alvin Bragg to thank. And by the way, some of you point out, it's not the prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, that indicted Trump. It was a grand jury. So just to be clear on those details. But okay, travesty, huh? This is an absolute travesty because it happened to Donald Trump. But what about John Edwards? Well, during her appearances on Bill O'Reilly's show, you remember that guy? I remember him in the falafel. I'm just saying. There were lots of allegations of
sexual anarchy
as it relates to Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly and the falafel. Okay, so
we'll do it live.
Right? Yes, we will. He called this. Oh, sorry. Kelly said during the time of Edwards and that investigation and trial, she said that the case was going pretty well for the prosecution because it doesn't seem like a lot of the facts are in dispute. O'Reilly, in reaction to the Trump indictment, called it, quote, bad for the country and a political play. But at the conclusion of the Edwards trial, during deliberations, O'Reilly declared the evidence against Edwards to be pretty damning. And throughout the prosecution, O'Reilly repeatedly declared that Edwards was guilty. Again, I don't disagree with any of this. But I do disagree with the whole hypocrisy thing. But anyway, there's more on Twitter. Former Fox News contributor Kimberly Guilfoyle described the charges against Trump as a quote-unquote sham indictment because there was no crime committed. In October of 2011, however, Guilfoyle, when it related to John Edwards, said, quote, "I think there's a strong case against him. You have people who are going to testify against him, so I think he is in trouble." The Wall Street Journal editorial page also is filled with columns that went after Bragg and accused him of indicting Trump on, quote, the weakest charges. The weakest charges. Okay, but again, it's the same charges against John Edwards. And back in 2011, the Wall Street Journal ran multiple columns emphasizing how the charges against Edwards were wonderful, perfect. Steve Simpson wrote this in June 2011, quote, "If the candidates themselves can define what a contribution is, the laws would be pointless. So it's a bit strange to claim that Mr. Edwards should have been able to accept a nearly $1 million to cover up an affair that clearly would have affected his presidential campaign." Yes, so true. So true, Mr. Simpson. Yes, Wall Street Journal, nailing it. Oh, but now, since it has to do with the Republicans, this has to do with Trump, not nailing it. Gotcha. Right. James Taranto also, Taranto. I don't want to, besmirch the good people of Toronto, Canada. Wonderful, wonderful place. Beautiful, beautiful city, beautiful country. The most beautiful. Who edits the papers, the Wall Street Journal's op-ed page, also made similar arguments to Mr. Simpson. So look, here's the thing. Hypocrisy. Total hypocrisy. When it's Democrat, Republicans are like, get him, get him. When it's Donald Trump, no, don't get him. No, he did nothing wrong, nothing wrong at all. But look, the fact is, Trump has been accused of falsifying business records. Okay? That is a misdemeanor. There's evidence of that. So now, the other thing, well, that's the issue, right? And that's violating campaign finance law. So, look, in New York, falsifying business records is a misdemeanor crime. Prosecutors, what they have to do in this case for Trump, and again, this is, as far as I know, perhaps the other sealed indictments may reveal other crimes. We, again, really don't know the full extent of the charges against Trump, but we're all assuming that it has to do with, again, the falsification of business records, and then whether or not that applies as a campaign contribution based on the timing and the purpose of it. Okay? So now prosecutors in New York have to prove that falsifying the records wasn't pursuant to committing another crime in that particular state. That's the novel theory that they're going to have to adjudicate, at least as far as I'm concerned, and we'll find out more of the details when the full indictments are unsealed. Again, that's the reality of it. Whether or not it's a strong enough case based on the precedent here that we've had with the Edwards case, that is going to be very, very interesting. As is, of course, the Republicans continuing to claim that this is not a problem. What are you talking about? How many people? Totally fine. Not a crime. I wonder if anybody's going to ask them about their previous statements. Oh, right. We're probably going to deal with legacy corporate media. So the answer is no. They're never going to get called out to their face when it comes to some of the positions they had before. Because, again, they would have no defense.